Hello everyone, welcome back. Sorry, so this is attempt number 2 for this video. I lost my internet signal for about 15-20 minutes, and there is a thing on here where I can hit pause, but I've done it before, and when I do it, it pauses the recording. And then when I get my internet back, it doesn't, it doesn't, I don't know, it screws up. I don't care for what I'm using is not great. But we're going to go ahead and do this all over again. My Cerveza's gone. And this is Battle of the Bulge, the relief of Bastogne or Bastogne.
This video.
Let's do this all over again. Sorry. Really.
This video is sponsored by Kamikoto, makers of high-quality Japanese steel kitchen knives.
I like my knives better.
Its crew, commanded by Sergeant Frederick Probert, is asleep. They are rudely awakened by the unmistakable sound of tank engines approaching. Probert strains his eyes in the dark and can barely make out a German mechanized column approaching his position. He orders his gunner to prepare to engage.
Shot action, load armored piercing.
The column approaching Probert's position is Kampfgruppe Boom, the tip of the spear for the 2nd Panzer Division, under the command of Major von Boom, whose men and tanks had smashed through Task Force Harper outside of Bastogne less than a week ago. Boom's column is now just 3 miles from the Meuse River crossing at the town of Dinant. He has been ordered to capture the crossing tonight, no matter the cost. They are completely unaware that Probert's Sherman Firefly has trained its high-velocity 17-pounder gun on the lead Panzer IV. Probert relays the instructions.
No traverse. Tank front.
Loaded.
The gunner responds before confirming the target.
Tank on.
Fire!
Firing.
The Firefly's shot misses the leading tank and instead hits the convoy's munitions truck, which erupts in a massive fireball, triggering the fuel truck behind it to also blow up.
You hit the ammunition and then the fuel tank, the fuel truck. How lucky was that?
The German crews are confused. They are sitting ducks and can't see where they are taking fire from in the darkness. Probert's crew swiftly reloads and sends a round into the leading Panzer IV, knocking out their initial target, before immediately destroying a half-track and an armoured car. Panthers and a rare Ferdinand move to engage the Firefly, but Probert has already ordered a full reverse. Following the Royal Armoured Corps' slogan of shoot and scoot, Probert withdraws down the road and reports to 3rd Regiment HQ that they have ambushed a German column. Major Boom is concerned after the encounter, not knowing how many Allied units are in the area. He cautiously leads the rest of his battle group into Foix Notre Dame and decides to rest for the night. This is the furthest west that German forces will advance during the Battle of the Bulge. The Great German Offensive, which began a week ago, is now on its last legs. Kampfgruppe Boom and the armoured vanguard of the 5th Panzer Army are what the Führer considers to be his last chance of success in the battle. Failure across the front has made their task of crossing the Meuse even more urgent. In the early hours of the 24th of December, the remaining men of Kampfgruppe Piper abandoned their vehicles in the village of L'Église and set off on foot to escape capture. They are forced to swim the freezing Amblève River and spend Christmas trudging through the dark woods of the Ardennes. The next day, only 800 of the original 4,800 SS troops of Kampfgruppe Piper will reach German lines.
Oh no.
To the south, General George Patton's counterattack to relieve Bastogne is drawing closer to the encircled garrison. The US 4th Armoured, 80th Infantry and 26th Infantry Divisions are trying to force their way north through tenacious resistance offered by the 5th Fallschirmjäger Division. Led by Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams, the 37th Tank Battalion of the US 4th Armoured Division, with the 53rd Armoured Infantry Battalion, are just south of the village of Biegenville. Abrams's tanks and mechanised infantry had assaulted Biegenville the day before, only to be repulsed after they were accidentally bombed by friendly aircraft. They are only 15 miles south of Bastogne, and are launching a massive attack on the morning of Christmas Eve to clear the village. At first light, American artillery opens a short but ferocious barrage on Bougainville. US Army Air Force's P-47 Thunderbolts and RAF Hawker Typhoons soon join the fray, bombing and rocketing German positions around the village. Abrams wants to avoid another friendly fire incident and waits to send in his men until the fighter-bomber aircraft depart. The assault commences after the Thunderbolts and Typhoons head off, with 2 Shermans each leading a company of infantry on foot into the village. The defenders are from the German 13th Parachute Regiment, and are so low on ammunition that they have been forced to ration their artillery shells. The Americans enter the village and are met with machine gun and mortar fire from the entrenched Fallschirmjägers. Abrams has been waiting for the German defenders to reveal their positions, and sends in the rest of his Shermans to blast away at strongpoints in the village. The American infantry moves house to house, while the tanks cover them with direct fire to flush out the enemy paratroopers. The Shermans use tracer rounds to set houses on fire and compel the Germans to abandon their positions. It is intense, but methodical work. After 3 hours of combat, an American infantry assault team captures the last building leading north out of Bougainville, and the German paratroopers surrender. 328 prisoners are taken, and the advance can resume. However, Lieutenant Colonel Abrams is told that his unit will be transferred west. The 37th Tank Battalion has been chosen to lead the charge into Bastogne. On the night of Christmas Eve, General Heinz Guderian informs the Führer that the Ardennes offensive has failed. With the Red Army about to launch its anticipated winter attack, he begs the German leader to transfer units to the Eastern Front. Instead, Guderian is reprimanded, and the Führer orders the offensive to continue. He still has hope that the Meuse can be reached and crossed the following day. On Christmas morning, 1944, General Patton writes in his diary that it is a clear, cold Christmas, perfect weather for killing Germans.
Jesus. Perfect weather for killing Germans.
The hot honey adds that perfect sweet heat. Sheesh!
The German forces surrounding Bastogne launch a major assault on the American perimeter. Supported by Luftwaffe bombers and having been reinforced during the night, 2 divisions launch vicious and costly attacks on the battered 101st Airborne and 10th Armoured Divisions. The German forces suffer staggering losses, but push the defenders to the breaking point, even coming within 1,000 yards from the edge of the town in the southern sector. Yet, the 101st and 10th Armoured stubbornly hold their positions thanks in part to the resupply efforts of the previous days.
To the west, Kampfgruppe Boom is still less than 3 miles from the Meuse, when his men come under heavy air attack from P-38 Lightning and Typhoon fighter bombers. The British 29th Armoured Brigade holds the German units in place, while the American 2nd Armoured Division launches a pincer maneuver to encircle the German leading units near the town of Salez. General Lutwitz orders his local commanders to launch a counterattack to prevent his men from being cut off, but one of his senior officers later recalled that the air was so thick with Allied Yabos that our tactical units could not move during the daylight hours. With not enough fuel to even run their ambulances, the spearheads of the 2nd Panzer and Panzer Lehr divisions are wiped out. Less than 1,000 men escape the pocket in the one-sided battle for the Meuse crossings.
It has finally become apparent even to the Führer that the offensive has failed. Despite the horrific losses in men and material.
But does the Führer care? And I'm not saying that, I'm saying that to the point of, okay, it failed, but does that mean he would just, he would look at it in terms of, oh, okay, well then let's just send more units there to, to force our way through, because the human life aspect doesn't mean anything to him. That's all my opinion.
he is determined to salvage the situation. Bastogne's defiant defence has become a propaganda tool for the Allies, and has enraged the German leader. He decides that the town must be captured at all costs before it can be relieved.
See what I mean?
General Patton's Third Army continues its advance towards the embattled town. His units are so close that the 101st paratroopers within the pocket can hear the rumble of artillery as friendly units fight their way north.
You have control of everything but that town. Look. You do not... Okay, I'll go around. Oh, look, I'm back on the road. Like, who cares? You have them surrounded. Throw more units around there so that there isn't a way for them to retreat and move on. If your goal is total annihilation, okay. But if you got to focus on more. You can't just focus on, there could be 300 people here. Okay, then bomb it. Like, you don't need to send in more humans. I don't know. It's just me. Just my thinking. Who am I, right?
Creighton Abrams' 37th Tank Battalion is prepared to attack the village of Seabray when he suddenly receives new orders. A spotter plane has discovered a gap in the German lines near the village of Assenois, which is thinly held by Volksgrenadiers. Abrams sends Captain William Dwight with a column of Shermans and half-tracks to force their way into the Bastogne pocket using the Assenois road. Abrams radios in artillery support for Dwight's men, telling the gunners he wants concentration number 9, play it soft and sweet. Dwight's column approaches Assenois while American 155mm long toms fire over their heads and P-47s drop napalm on the village. Dwight is in such a hurry to relieve Bastogne that he orders a charge into the town while it is still under air and artillery attack. The German defenders are caught completely by surprise when American tanks and infantry burst into the town, raking the buildings with heavy fire. However, the German units do manage to bring in place 88mm guns to bear on Dwight's column, and a close-quarter battle breaks out. Private James Hendricks dismounts from his half-track and is taking cover in a shell hole when he spots an enemy position with two 88mm guns firing on the column. Hendricks is a bazooka man, but grabs his M1 rifle and starts out towards the German guns. He creeps forward and then storms the gun position by himself, catching the German artillery crews by complete surprise. He points his rifle at the startled men and compels them to surrender before ordering his prisoners to head south. He returns to his half-track and hops aboard to continue the advance while the intense battle swells around him.
Wow.
The half-track moves further down the road when Hendricks spots a couple of wounded soldiers on the side of the road, pinned down by two MG-42s. He jumps down from the half-track again and fires on the machine guns with his rifle, knocking out one and forcing the other to cease fire. While he provides cover fire, two of his comrades drag the wounded men to safety. Minutes later, Hendricks is back with the column when the half-track behind him explodes after taking a round from an 88mm gun. Hearing cries for help from a trapped soldier, Hendricks runs into the flames. Braving exploding mines and ammunition, he searches for the source of the cries. Hendricks finds the wounded man with his uniform on fire and pulls him out before rolling him in the snow to put out the flames. Hendricks will be awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions on this day. Amid the chaos,
PFC James Hendricks should be talked about in terms of just like as American history. He should be mentioned. And look, there are a lot of people who've done a lot of good things, but in America, James Hendricks should have his own statue as far as I'm concerned. Just the balls on that guy. The balls. And he probably looked at it like it was no big deal.
Chaotic fighting, the remainder of Dwight's column breaks free of Assenois, only to find the road blocked by a row of teller mines. Dwight himself jumps down from his tank, picks up the mines with his bare hands, and tosses them off to the side of the road. Again the column continues its advance towards Bastogne. Soon they are faced with a concrete pillbox, covering the road with machine gun fire. Keeping with the frantic
So, my wife got me this weird new tool for Christmas.
My wife.
And at first, I thought it looked kind of crazy. But after using it just...
James Hendricks. Wow.
Keeping with the frantic pace of the advance, a Sherman approaches the pillbox and fires 3 point-blank high-explosive shells into the opening, silencing the machine gun. After destroying the bunker, enemy fire stops completely. At 4:50 p.m, Dwight's column emerges into an open field littered with red, white and yellow parachutes. Knowing these parachutes are from the C-47 resupply missions to the 101st Airborne, Dwight orders his men to hold their fire. The tanks slow down and come to a halt when a low figure emerges from a foxhole and calls out, "I'm Lieutenant Webster, 326th Airborne Engineers. Glad to see you guys." Webster and Captain Dwight shake hands, and are soon joined by Lieutenant Colonel Abrams minutes later. Hot on his heels is a convoy of over 100 ambulances to evacuate the nearly 2,000 wounded from the pocket. The siege of Bastogne is over. With the strategically important town relieved, St. Vith remains the only major road junction in the Ardennes still in German hands. A massive air raid is ordered on the town to further hamper German resupply into the Bulge. On the evening of the 26th of December, more than 300 Halifax and Lancaster bombers take off from their air bases and fly unopposed to St. Vith. They drop more than 1,100 tons of high explosive and incendiary bombs on the doomed town.
Jeez.
The destruction of St. Vith is vast. The already ruined streets are further wrecked by debris and craters. It will take 3 full days for the German forces to sufficiently clear the town enough to use its roads for resupply purposes. In the meantime, critical fuel and ammunition convoys become stuck in massive traffic jams, which are easy targets for Allied aircraft. The next 4 days see the first extended lull in the Battle of the Bulge. During this time, Field Marshal Montgomery gathers Allied forces for a counterattack to push the Germans back to the Reich's borders. The American commanders on the ground urge their British commander to be aggressive and cut off the entire German offensive, but Montgomery believes the roads and weather are too poor for such an ambitious manoeuvre. Meanwhile, the Führer and German High Command are debating how to regain the initiative. He settles on 2 risky plans, the most ambitious coming from Luftwaffe Chief Hermann Göring. Göring believes his air fleets hold the key to turning the tide of the battle. New Year's Eve in the Ardennes is mostly quiet, but at exactly midnight on the 1st of January 1945, every American artillery battery in the sector opens an extended barrage on enemy positions. It is a symbolic gesture, a warning that the new year will bring about Nazi Germany's final defeat.
A symbolic gesture.
Thanks to the chaps from Squire.
This is good. Man, I kind of want to do another one, but I have to pee from all the beer I've been drinking. I think I'm going to do another one. All right, well, I'm going to end this here, and just as soon as I end this video, I want all of you to know that I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to tinkle my brains out. You thinking about it? I'm going to be going, oh. That's the face I'm going to make, too. It's going to be in your dreams.